Hi, my name is Michael Gilmour, and I'm the writer of Whizbang's blog and also one of the founders of ParkLogic.com. And it gives me great pleasure to be here with Jackson Elsegood from Escrow.com. It's great to see you, Jackson. How are you going?
Hi, Michael. Very well. How are you?
Oh, really good, thank you. Yeah, a lot of things have been happening at Escrow.com, really exciting things. We're going to get into that as we move on through this interview. But Jackson, I must admit, here in Melbourne, Australia, it's going to be 41 degrees Celsius today. And so if you see sweat dripping off me, I do apologize to you for that. But
I'm sure I'll be forgiven.
No, not a problem. But Jackson, a few things. Like, I must admit, like, I'd love to know a few things about you. I'm sure all those people who are viewing this video would like to know, like, who is Jackson? So tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure thing. I came into working at Escrow with a long background in internet payments. I started off my career working in consulting, helping businesses to get their processes right. A lot of innovation work, and especially kind of moving into that really embracing the e-commerce side of the business. Being able to really use that in every element of the business and make it truly online. I moved into to running some internet payment gateways myself. That was obviously a move into the global finance.
That's a bit of a challenge there, running internet payment gateways yourself, particularly in Australia here.
Absolutely.
And I must admit, you used two words there, was business processes and innovation. And one of the things that I know that I appreciate, for example, from Escrow.com, is the process and the fact that I know you're looking at doing quite a bit of innovation in the future, but the process is really important for the buyer and the seller. And you obviously have a lot of experience in this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the key parts of the service is to really look after our customers. That high level of trust that comes with a process that's completely unshakable. That's one of the things that definitely won't be changing at any point in the business. Is will always be that sort of protected and trusted process. So having a deep understanding of how that works and the key parts of it is really key to running this business.
No, absolutely. And I know it's one of the things that Escrow.com has really prided itself in, the fact that they're a company which has gone through all the hard yards with the regulatory authorities and all that sort of stuff to make sure they're squeaky clean and they get audited on a regular basis, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you've been down the road quite a way. So how did you get involved with freelancer then? What attracted you to freelancer?
Sure. Yeah, so freelancer in Sydney is obviously very well known. I was working in Sydney for an American company, but very much in the Australian payment space. Got a call from Matt, who I knew from past experience, and he mentioned to me that Freelancer was acquiring Escrow.com. He talked to me about the company and about some of the things that were a possibility for Escrow in the future. And to be honest, I was very excited by the role that I was in at the time. But when you hear about a company like Escrow.com that has such a trusted place in the market and such a dedicated group of sort of community around it, that's a really powerful force, and that's something I was really excited to be a part of. So that was, that call really just jumped me straight into wanting to work on Escrow.com.
No, absolutely. I must admit, I interviewed Matt last year when it was announced that Escrow.com was going to be acquired. And he was a really engaging guy who obviously knows his stuff, focuses on his numbers and things like that. And I know he's taken Freelancer from a tiny little startup to something quite large now, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. The great thing about Freelancer, it's publicly listed company. It's traded on the Australian Stock Exchange, so there's a lot of that sort of regulatory experience in the business already. Getting into escrow and obviously all of the state and federal licensing requirements in Australia and the US is a huge challenge for any business, and Freelancer really had the experience and the scale to make that happen.
No, absolutely. So, are you going to get listed on the NASDAQ at some stage?
Look, I think the ASX is pretty well suited. Freelancers got a really great reputation in Australia, so I think we're staying here for now.
Yeah. So for all of the friends who are not from Australia, the ASX is the Australian Stock Exchange, and what's the code for Freelancer?
FLN. So it's ASX FLN.
ASX FLN. So. ASX.FLN, so that's the place that all the domains should go and start buying the stocks up. Is that right?
Definitely. Look, my role is really just on Escrow.com. The team is very much sort of Chinese wall away from the rest of Freelancer. Obviously, that independence is a really key part of of the trust and just the simplicity of relationship that we have with our customers. So in reality, the relationship with Freelancer is really great from an engineering perspective, from scale, from getting to use the infrastructure that Freelancer provides. But certainly I won't be going out there and spruiking the Freelancer stock just yet. Matt does a great job of that himself.
Yeah, well, everyone has to make up their own mind on that, don't they, and get their own professional advice. That's the underwriter of this video. But anyway, a couple of other things is that so when did Freelancer finally complete the deal for Escrow.com?
Yeah, so that was on, I think the 2nd of November was the official date that we...
So it's very recent there.
Yeah, about 45 days ago now.
Yeah.
We've been working really hard since then. The team's been putting in some long hours to really get our heads around, all of the existing relationships, all of the potential ways that, the contracts are set up. We had a long run up to this part where we're going through all the regulatory approvals. So there is a lot of knowledge that we've built up, and as I said, I'm really excited to finally be able to put some of these really great improvements that we've got in mind just around user interface and things like that in practice.
Yeah. So a question for you. So why did Freelancer acquire Escrow.com? What was the thing that you guys really saw in Escrow.com at that time that you thought, hey, we just got to get this?
Yeah, definitely. So look, the bottom line is all the great marketplaces now, they integrate closely with their payment provider. Alibaba's got Alipay, eBay had PayPal. This synergy of being able to deliver a complete customer experience is really important. On Freelancer, and the acquisition, I think anyone would have seen some great potential in Escrow.com, and certainly Matt's one of those people who is very good at spotting, some great potential. As I said, the customer base is so loyal. People will call us up in the middle of the night and say, I've just got to set up an escrow right now. And, that kind of passion for a product, even a financial services product, is something that you really have to think is a rare gem, and something that's...
So you don't do that with your bank then? You don't sort of call up your bank at midnight and go, hey, I've just got to do this transfer quick. I imagine being you are number 4,333 in the queue.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of that's been where I've focused in my career previously, is taking someone like a bank and showing them that, when you're dealing with people that are doing business on the internet, it really is 24/7, and the expectation is, is that you really will have 24-hour customer support, and you really will have someone who's available to answer on chat or on email or in Chinese on QQ or on WeChat or whatever. And a lot of businesses that weren't born in the .com don't really get that, but Escrow is definitely one of those ones that will get that.
Yeah, I must admit, like with PackLogic, all of our clients are like international. So I end up getting up early in the morning to get the East Coast of the US, and I'm up late at night to get Europe and also the East Coast on the other of the US.
Yeah,
and sort of like, welcome to my world, Jackson.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's so true. We work in a global business now, don't we?
Yeah, look, we see every day more and more trades go from the US to Russia or Russia to China or, the new markets. India is popping up as a big one for us. And realistically, when you're dealing with people's money and you're dealing with potentially $1 million worth of trades, people want to speak to you in their native language. They want to feel safe and they want to feel secure. And as much as people, I'm sure, appreciate the effort that goes into being audited and licensed, it really comes down to that human element where people are able to pick up the phone and speak to one of our customer support agents who are amazingly good at their job and make people feel comfortable day in and day out, whether it's 9 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. And it's funny, we both work in an internet world and Skype and email and chat and all that sort of stuff. But there's also nothing quite like that face-to-face. And I know just in my blog, a number of times I've written articles about it. I said, whatever you do, get to know your key partners. And a key partner is Escrow.com. And get to know them, because if it hits the fan one day, something goes wrong, the fact that you know them and you can pick up the phone makes all the difference. It really does for people. And the number of stories I know I've heard where something's gone wrong with the transaction or whatever it was, and they're able to call up someone at Escrow.com and get an answer. With myself, every one of our clients, I give them my personal Skype address, and so they can get access to me. And it's very important, in this 24/7 world. So we're just moving on from that. So you've gone along and you purchased Escrow.com. Obviously, it had a really sound basis, as you just said. It's got a technology platform. It's got all the legal agreements in place, with the various jurisdictions. It's got some great staff there and things like that. And I know one of the things that when I was talking to Matt, I said, so you're going to move this to Sydney now, are you? And so I know people ask me that. So what's happening on that front?
So look, it really is a global team now. We've expanded our customer support, as you mentioned, to cover some of the important markets like the mainland Chinese market. We've opened up a new office in Sydney to have those customer support personnel based in the right time zone, obviously with the right language skills to be able to deal with people who'd rather speak Chinese than English. I personally split my time 50-50 between the Sydney office and the California office. Our operation manager, Keith Gettle, he's based out of the Californian office. And
in fact, the majority of the core operations team are in California, aren't they?
Yeah, that's correct.
And that's fantastic. And that's the same team that's been there all the time. Largely the same team, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely the same team. The escrow managers who are really the core of the business. The same people answering the phones in customer support. In fact, we've expanded that team significantly in customer support in California. We've added to the customer support team in Sydney. We will continue to add to the regional support as we go along in London, in Buenos Aires. A lot of these offices that have been market's really waiting for Escrow.com to be there in their own time zone. We will be there.
So you're really expanding the business and investing into it then?
Yeah, absolutely. Matt definitely has described it the best, I think, in the past, which is aggressive reinvestment. Putting money back into this business so that it can be the size that it needs to be to help our customers to grow their business all over the world. We're helping people to buy and sell Russian domains. Well, then we need to be able to speak Russian, and we need to be there in the Russian time zone.
So here's a question for you: is there a lot of action happening in China there? A lot of Chinese transactions?
Yeah, definitely. We've always had a lot of Chinese transactions, but I'm sure anyone in the domaining industry would have seen the growth in the last few months.
It's been crazy, hasn't it? It's been crazy.
Yeah. Look, there's been some strong drivers of that one. A lot of our partners have mentioned to us, troubles in the Shanghai Stock Exchange have caused some people to look at alternative investments and things like that. We see a lot of new entrants coming into the market and existing entrants who are really buying up some great virtual real estate. So, it's an exciting time for anyone. I'd say this is probably the start of the Chinese run, and and we'll probably see a lot more emerging markets come on in the next couple of years as people start looking at domaining not just as an internet thing, but as an investment thing.
Yeah, so it's looking at establishing domains as an investment class in itself, an asset class.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that Escrow.com is a key part of that, because there's no point having an asset class if you can't actually buy and sell the asset in a secure, massive manner.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that traditionally we see is an investment class pops up, it's unregulated for a time, and then when people start putting really serious money through it, which of course we've seen in the last couple of years more and more, various regulatory agencies want to eventually put their cap on and say, okay, I want to know what's going on here.
And I guess we're on the
front foot. Yeah, well, but we're really on the front foot with those ones. So what we basically do is we work with all of the government agencies that we're required to in the States and in Australia to make sure that when people are doing this level of business, it's all done above board. It's all done in a regulatory framework, and it's all done in a way that we'd be proud to put up in front of any agency and ensure we have all the right sign-offs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's absolutely critical for the transparency of business, to be able to have that free flow of assets and free flow of capital, so that people can buy and sell securely. And but it's so here's a question for you: what's happening into the future with Escrow.com? Where do you see it going? Are you able to give some sneak previews or anything like that of some of the things you're working on behind the scenes or anything? I can understand if you can't, but that's all right.
No. Look, the trust goes both ways. We share absolutely everything we can when we're working on it. One of the big parts that we're really keen on is sort of shortening this feedback cycle with our customers to be able to come out and talk to people who are using the service every day and say, look, we're looking at releasing this new feature. Obviously, we want to make sure that it works absolutely correctly on day one. Will you please jump in the pilot seat and help us to test this one out?
Yeah.
So. The first thing we're working on is a new marketing website. Obviously, the Escrow.com brand is well known in the domaining industry, but when you take it to a brand new buyer or a brand new seller and you say to them, look, I want you to trust this third-party organization with our domain and our money, that has to be very, very convincing straight off the bat. It has to look professional, and it has to be, a cut above anything that people usually see on the internet. If you go to your bank's website, there's certain parts of the site that talk to you as a user and say, this is a trustworthy place to do
Very
business.
true. Very true. Yeah, and it's I think that's a really good way to go, because there's obviously a whole massive markets which are just waiting for an escrow.com type service. Now, just moving on from there. So, what's I believe you're going to be at NamesCon. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. As I said, meeting a lot of new people in the domaining industry. Some of them face to face for the first time. So it's really great to be able to put a face to that name, or a face to that voice. I'm really looking forward to being at NamesCon in the start of next year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know. I'll be there. We got a whole team there as well from ParkLogic, and I'm wearing a .club shirt here. I have to do that for Colin and the team there. They do a great job. I know they do transactions through Escrow.com and that sort of thing, and it's really good to have them on board as well. But I know you're going to have a booth. Is that right? And Matt's going to be there at NamesCon?
Yep, definitely. The team, I think that a lot of people will have spoken to last year, will be there. We'll have a good sized booth, maybe a few t-shirts or giveaways to put out there.
There's nothing like a t-shirt, is there?
We'll have to try and find something. I know it's not a conference unless there's a good giveaway.
It's exactly right. I'm going to draw full of t-shirts. It's Michael dressed by conference.
And Matt will be speaking. I think on the last day he's speaking. I think he's got the closing keynote, so that'll be good.
Oh, that's fantastic news. So for all of those of you who are watching this video, look, get alongside Jackson at NamesCon if you're going to be at NamesCon, and pick his brains. What's happening with escrow and that sort of stuff. I hope you found this video really informative and a lot of fun. Can I just say, Jackson, it's been great talking with you, and I just want to say thank you very, very much for your time. We do appreciate that. Do you have one last
Mike,
comment?
no worries, anytime.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, thanks a lot for that, Jackson. See you later then.
Thank you.